Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a review for you of a really interesting little watch right here. This is the Christopher Ward Trident Pro 600. First off, though, I want to thank actually my Patreon patrons. In that this is a watch I ended up just buying myself. It's like, okay, you know what? I'm tired. I need to have reviewed this, and so I just went ahead and I picked one up, and that's only possible due to the generous people who are willing to offer me that kind of support. So thank you very much, you guys. Next thing, let's do some size measurements and size comparison. Here it is against another diver that is maybe a little bit more expensive. This is the Tudor Pelagos, actually significantly more, but that's okay. Tudor Pelagos, as you can see here, that although it's actually very similar in thickness to the Pelagos, it is a much smaller size overall. Here it is against the Breitling Aerospace, and here it is against another sorry, I've been reviewing a lot of knives, another watch that is also ocean themed, the Casio Oceanus. So you can see here, that's where we're at. And let's go ahead and make a couple of measurements here while we're at it too. As I drop a flashlight on the table. Guys, it's been a long day. The overall diameter of this guy, excluding the crown here, is coming in at 38 millimeters, because this is the 38 millimeter version. The lug-to-lug distance is a very, very reasonable 45 millimeters, which is great. The thickness is a slightly less reasonable, looks like 14 millimeters, which is a little crazy, and the overall dial size, excluding the bezel, is, come here, calipers, coming in right around 29, 28 millimeters. That's pretty reasonably sized. And then the bracelet thickness, bracelet size, I suppose, comes in around 19, 20 millimeters, probably 20. So there are those measurements. And then finally, a quick note on Christopher Ward. What is Christopher Ward? Well, this is a micro brand. They're actually based out of the UK, and they make a bunch of watches, but the Trident line is what they're best known for. So let's go ahead and jump into the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly of this very interesting little watch here. First off, on the good side, the movement on this guy is quite good. This is the Sellita SW200-1 movement, which is based on the ETA 2824. Then Sellita is a company that makes some absolutely fine movements, so that's good to go. But it has all the features that you're after on a regular basis. So for instance, it hand winds. So right now I'm winding the watch. If I pull the crown out here, because it's not between 9 and 3 p.m. or 9 p.m. and 3 a.m., I can go ahead and safely adjust the date here, move it to the 27th, using the quick adjust feature. And then if I pull the second hand, or pull the crown all the way out, see the second hand stops, allowing me to adjust the time very freely. That's a beautiful thing and makes this guy actually pretty straightforward to work with, so that's good. It's also been, in my experience, pretty accurate. This guy has been running plus 3 seconds a day fast for the time I've been wearing it, and that's impressive. Considering that they don't offer any kind of certification or anything with it, that's doing good, so I appreciate that very much. Next thing, the bezel on this guy is great. It's a zirconium oxide sort of thing. It's some kind of a it feels ceramic-y, it looks ceramic-y. It's pretty scratch resistant, and you know what? It looks great, and it feels great. It has a really good bezel feel, almost, frankly, a little bit better than my Omega Planet Ocean did, just because there's no backlash or anything like that, so that's kind of nice. And overall, it works well. With lume pip and everything like that. So, very, very good bezel here. No complaints there. Next thing, there are some nice design touches here that I think make this stand out a little bit. For instance, they've got the Trident motif throughout here. So you can see here in the back, they've got a nicely engraved case back, complete with a guilloche kind of thing to match the inside, and there's still plastic on there. But I decided not to take that off. But so you've got that. And then on the second hand, additionally, you can see here, it is rotating around with the little trident there. You've got the drop-shaped hour hand there, which some people don't think is a drop, but that's okay. You've got the guilloche dial. They've got a couple of nice little touches here, as well as these sort of stick indices that I think work well, and so that's good. And actually, the dial on the whole is quite good. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can give you a little bit more of a tour, but they've got some great features here. They've got a wave dial, which, given, is sort of reminiscent of the Omega Seamaster Professional there, at least the old versions of it. They've got applied indices. Each one of these indices is something that is laid down individually on there. You've got these little shocks of a bright green that are actually not lume. It's just a little bit of paint there. But you've got, in addition to the applied indices, you've got a nice little frame around the date window there that's reflective. The hands are really well done. I mean, take a look at the hands. You can actually see that the hands are actually bent. So there's a little bend in them, and that seems like a little detail there, but what it means is that, practically speaking, even if you're in a darker area, chances are you're going to be able to find light to hit one side of those or the other, and so that makes this more readable in plenty of places than it might have been otherwise, and so that's good. Overall, I gotta say the dial on this guy is quite good. You look down at it, and it's like this was done with care. The logo isn't applied, but that's not the logo's biggest issue, so that's a very nice thing. And one thing to note about this guy, and the next great thing about this guy, is the lume. I'm going to charge this up with a serious duty flashlight, and what you're going to see here is that the lume on this is pretty damn good. You can see the minute hand is loomed, the hour hand is loomed, and each one of the indices, excepting over by the date, because the date window is there, is fully loomed, and that's just beautiful. And the lume is good. The lume lasts all night long on the hands as well as the indices as well as the pip. It's absolutely good to go. It's not necessarily, particularly the indices, there's not all that much lume put down there, so it's not like knock your socks off bright in the way that some are, but it's good to go. No problem with lume at all. Next thing, they actually offer you a bunch of different options with this guy. For instance, this is the black on black, so black ceramic, black face, but you can also get the black dial with a black bezel with a white dial. You can get orange on black or orange on white or something. They have a bunch of different, they've got a blue one coming. So if you're looking at this and thinking, this is nice, but I'd like something a little bit different than the black, they have something to offer for you, and that's actually a really nice thing. One of the best things that they do with this watch, and one of the things that makes me love it so damn much, is that they have two different size options. In addition to choosing colors, you can choose your size as well. You can get a 43 millimeter version, and you can get a 38 millimeter version. The thing is, 38 millimeters is a great size. There's a reason that so many historic watches have been in that sort of size, and it works really well on pretty much any wrist. I have smaller wrists than most, but you can see here, this fits me very nicely, whereas some bigger watches, like the Pelagos or something, Planet Ocean, are a little bit, they feel a little bit big on this, and so honestly, I'm a big fan of having that option there. And specifically of having a 38 millimeter option, which is in that size that I think most adults can pull off well, but is also good for instance, a woman who'd rather wear a watch like this, or even somebody with daintier wrists, whatever. It's great, and I love the fact that they give us the option to have a watch that is reasonably sized, as well as one that is what, is in trend and fad right now, which are the super huge ones. And then finally, on the good side, maybe one of the best things about this guy, well, at least the thing I didn't call great, is the bracelet. The bracelet on this guy is very nice in a couple of ways. First off, you can see that all of the links here are polished. These are polished side links there. And that's actually nice. I mean, at some level, we'll talk about it a little bit, but at the same time, it gives it a little bit of bling. It gives it a little bit more show off it to do it. The bracelet itself is very good. It's relatively soft. It works well. There's very little droop or anything. It's a tight bracelet. But the thing that really sets this guy apart, aside from the fact, the clasp is well done, it's well produced, the thing that really sets this guy apart is that it features a toolless quick adjust system. So all I need to do is reach down in here and then press this down, and then suddenly the link pops out a little bit. And then I can slowly, step by step, push it in, or in, or in, or in. Oh yeah. Check that out. That is almost a full link worth of ratcheting adjustment. And so if I'm wearing the watch and I'm finding it a little bit too tight, I just pop it off there, pull this down, pull it all the way out, and then I can just put it on my wrist and press it in until it feels comfortably tight. That is absolutely spectacular. That is something that I love seeing, and that I think every watch in 2018 should be including. And in fact, that's sort of become a sine qua non to be in my collection. Anything that's in my collection in the long term really almost needs to have one of those guys, and it's absolutely great. It's a very nice system for it, and the fact that they've got this on a relatively budget-friendly watch is absolutely wonderful. And so to me, all of that is the good, is that it's got a great bracelet with nice finishing and a quick adjust clasp, which is just crucial these days. It's got two size options, ginormous and regularly sized. It has a number of colorways for you. It's got great lume, a great dial, some nice design touches, if you like the design, that is, a great bezel, a good movement, and it is accurate and with a very nice quick adjust sort of clasp. I think I mentioned that twice, but it's really good. On the great side to me is the value here. This is a watch that you can get for $830 full price, although they do sales pretty regularly, so if you can catch a sale, catch the sale. But the thing is, it is a technically near-perfect watch. What I mean by that is there's really nothing wrong with this at a functional level. The movement is good and accurate. The bezel is absolutely great. The lume is right on there. The bracelet is excellent. It's got a quick adjust to it. There is really not anything else that I would ask of this watch, maybe with some design exceptions aside that I'll talk about a little bit later. But in terms of actual things that make this watch functionally good, great, bad, and ugly, this has everything I would want. It is really all of the things that I disagree with are details. And when you get that kind of thing for $750 or $800, whatever you end up paying with sales and whatnot, that is stellar. That is wonderful. And that makes me kind of feel like, oh my God, why am I spending all this money for Omega, Tudor, Longines, that kind of thing? It's not quite to the same level of finishing as like Monta, which is another micro brand that is a further tick up the road, but really finishes like crazy. It's not quite there, but honestly, the finishing is still good enough that you can be very proud to have this on the wrist. But to me, that is 100% what is great about this, is that this is a watch that is way cheaper than most of your dive watches out there, but is also technically exactly where it needs to be. And that's just spectacular. On the bad side, unfortunately, there is a little bit of bad here, but there usually is in life. It is missing some features relative to higher-end pieces, so there's no independent hour hand, meaning that if you pull the hour, you can't adjust the hour without stopping the second hand. Not a big deal, but it's a thing. Also, the hairspring is not anti-magnetic. That is really the only other functional feature I would want from this, is to have the watch more resistant to magnetic fields. But the thing is, it's not the end of any particular worlds. You can buy a demagnetizer. It'll work. Not a huge issue. But those are things that as you go higher in the range, the things that you might gain. Next thing, they do offer a titanium version, which is nice, but they do them only in these kind of annoying colorways, like with DLC-coated bezels or hands and things like that. I wish that they offered this watch exactly, except done in titanium. Maybe brush the whole thing, do something, but it's annoying to me that there's not a titanium version of this in everyday sorts of colorways, and that there's no 38mm titanium version, because titanium is a great material for watches. It's lighter, has nice lower center of gravity when you make a watch out of it. I love titanium a lot, and I would love this watch even more in titanium, even if it were a little pricier. One thing that they did that just kind of annoys me, it's not about this particular watch in general, but it's something that Chris Ward did, is that they've got a quartz version of that. That is wonderful. I love that. But unfortunately, they kind of nerfed it. They made it a little bit less good just because it's quartz. They, for instance, changed the indices to something that doesn't look as good. They moved from the zirconium bezel to a little aluminum number. It's very clear that they wanted to make the quartz version just look a little bit worse than the regular one, so people would pony up for the mechanical. The thing is, that sucks, because some people just can't wear a mechanical watch. They're working around magnets all day long, and mechanicals tend to get magnetized for them. Or maybe they are, maybe they just do something that requires the durability that a mechanical cannot provide. And why is Christopher Ward punishing them for that need? I feel like it would be really nice if you could buy this exact same watch just with a quartz movement. If people love quartz, then they'll notice very quickly that it's a tick, 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 tick. Or if people love mechanicals, they'll notice, and life goes on. But I don't like the fact that they made the quartz version worse for no damn good reason. Next thing, the polished mid-links on this guy. Look, that's a fine idea, and it can be very attractive, but the problem is it also shows wear and shows gunk and shows scratches very, very easily. I have not been doing anything too terrible to this watch here. I did move into a new place with it, and so that's probably the source of a lot of this scratchitude, but the thing is, here, I'll try and wipe it off just to show you for damn sure that this is all scratchy. But as you're wearing this guy, these mid-links will cloud up. You will see little micro scratches on them all the damn time. And that is not the case with something that is brushed. Note that the brush surfaces still look pretty damn good. And so if you are using this guy in a situation where it's going to get beat up a little bit more, those polished mid-links aren't a great approach. The thing is, you can brush them out. You can go to pretty much any competent jeweler who does their own work, not like a mall jeweler necessarily, and have them brush out these links. They'll charge you a little bit of money, but it shouldn't be too bad. But the problem is they've also polished the top of this guy here. This little area here is polished. And so if you just have the bracelet completely brushed and the top of the case is polished, it looks a little weird. I'm not a big fan of that approach there. It's not the end of any world, certainly, and after a while it develops sort of a patina-ish look, so it's just like, oh, it's universally scratched up, so it looks okay, but that's not something I love. Speaking of the bracelet here, although you do see the polished sides, which is nice detail, but anyways, the bracelet is using conventional pin and collar sorts of links. So you have to pound this guy out, little hammer, etc., or take it to a jeweler is generally the better way to have it put together there, as opposed to a screw-down link, like for instance on your Duda here, which give it is a more expensive watch, but allows you to just use a screwdriver to get in there and pop those in and out very easily. A little frustration. Frankly, that's the only technical cut corner I can point to here, and that's so common. I mean, you even get it in like Patek Philippe watches, so it's like, okay, whatever, not a big deal, but it is certainly a thing that I think they could improve on in the future there. Next thing, and the other thing that kind of bugs me a little bit about this guy is that this is a 600-meter water-resistant watch. See, right there, 600 meters. Now, the funny thing about that is that humans don't go to 600 meters in underwater. That's just not a thing. 600 meters is a lot of freaking depth. Oh my God, is that a lot of depth? And basically, there has not been a human who has actually gone 600 meters underwater. So designing a watch to that standard is dumb as a bag of hammers. And the thing is, if you are going to make a watch that is designed to go to 600 meters, you need to include other things on there because chances are they're doing saturation diving. And that's the one time when actually doing like a helium escape valve on the side of a thing makes sense. This is just marketing for 99.999% of the world. But the fact is, if you're going to make a watch, then you don't need to make it 600 meter water resist. And if you do, then you kind of need to include those sorts of professional features. But the thing is, no high-end saturation diver is buying a Christopher Ward. And I'm sorry, it's just kind of the fact. They're going to get something that is designed more for that. And the simple fact then is that this guy is really, really thick. And I kind of suspect that part of that thickness is to get that 600-meter rating. I would much, much prefer had they made this watch thinner overall, because I think it would be a slightly better watch if it were a little thinner, and then just gone to 300 meters or even 100 meters, which is fine for most people. But the fact is the difference between 300 and 600 meters is just irrelevant because by the time you hit that, you're dead anyway. So, no big problem. And then finally, on the bad side, there are some design decisions here that definitely polarize. I put this guy up on the Instagram, and immediately a cacophony of opinions jumped out there. Some people talking about the sperm hour hand, certainly the logo, or, some of the other decisions they've made, the lack of an open case back here, or even this freaking logo in the back here. We'll get there. But the thing is, that's definitely a thing. And it's definitely something that disappoints some people, and so it's not going to be a design that's sort of timeless and universal for everybody. Somebody mentioned that it kind of feels like it was designed by committee, and I to an extent, I agree. I can see that. There are parts of the design that work really well and parts that really don't. So, anyways, that to me is the bad here, is that the design is kind of polarizing and has a couple of little issues here and there. It is a little bit thick. It has 600 600 meters worth of water resistance, which is completely ridiculous. It uses pinned rather than screwed links. Polished mid links are going to show some wear for you. They kind of screwed up the quartz version just to make it more distinct from the mechanical. There's no titanium option in 38 millimeter or in everyday colorways, and it is missing a couple of features relative to higher end pieces. On the ugly front, the logo. So I'm going to go ahead and put up on the screen here to the side what this used to look like. This is what this watch logo used to be. This is what we used to have going on here. See, that's way freaking better. And unfortunately, by moving to this logo, it is now unbalanced. They have nothing up at the top there, and then they've had to cut off one of these indices to fit this freaking Helvetica monstrosity. I don't even know if it is Helvetica, but some sans serif sort of uninspired thing right into there. And then they've gone in the back to this weird thing, which just makes no sense at all. And it's just terrible. And this thing is just like brutally vanilla. The thing is, a lot of people have wondered why on earth would Christopher Ward going from having one of the best logos in the micro brand business to one of the worst. And I admit, I felt that way for a long time, but then I realized the situation. In fact, the only situation that would possibly explain this logo change, and I figured it out. And that is that Christopher Ward was contacted by, spaceships from a distant star starfaring civilization, the CHR Wardians. And they came and they landed on Earth, and they said to Christopher Ward, guys, you're using our logo. We have this logo on the side of all our ships, and we will blow you up. We will blow up your entire planet if you continue to use that logo. But, of course, the C.I.H.R. Wardians are not necessarily they're not a brutal species. And so the Emperor of Wardius the 12th, his son, Wardius the 13th, had just completed graphic design school in high school, that is. And so he designed them a brand new logo like this. And, but the Emperor was quite clear that if they didn't use his, the brand new logo, then they would blow up the Earth again. And so Christopher Ward was left with no choice but to abandon the other logo and move to this one, which was designed by somebody who's right out of high school graphic design. And so in that situation, unfortunately, they couldn't tell the world that because the CIA, NSA, all those folks just came in and they hushed the whole thing over. Like the men in black showed up and boom. And so everybody's left, not sure, but they don't understand what happened. They don't understand the first contact, and that really, by changing to this logo, Christopher Ward saved our lives, all of us. And so, but the thing is, that said, they really need to reach out to those aliens and request a new logo stat, because this is really uninspired, and especially given I kept looking down at this and thinking, God, this would have been so much better had they just stuck with the old one. So even understanding what surely must, I have no evidence for that, but that's the only thing that makes sense. What must have gone on, I still can't do it with this freaking logo. It bugs the crap out of me, and they need to find something better. But anyways, to me, that's the ugly, is that they went from an incredible logo to this one, and oh man, why, guys? Why? But look, that's entirely, well, all this is, it's a review, but that's not a big deal. And in the end, in the grand scheme, final conclusions, this is actually a really incredible watch. Absolutely 100%. Technically, the movement is great. The case is great. The bracelet is stellar with a great quick adjust. The finishing is all you need. Because it's an off-the-shelf sort of movement, pretty much anybody should be able to service it, even your local watchmaker if you've got a local watchmaker. I mean, sure, there are parts of the design I don't love. It could definitely lose a little bit of weight, probably a little water resistance too, and the logo thing is just a crying shame. At least they saved the planet, people. But at some level, though, this watch is honestly all I need. I could sell everything else, and I could be freaking okay, functionally speaking. I'm not going to, and I'm not going to stop because I'm insane. But the fact of the matter is, this is all the watch I need. This, technically speaking, does everything just fine. It's great. Technically, this is a near-perfect 10. It gets right pretty much everything that matters, and the only areas that it falls down are the intangible design stuff that really, I mean, if you think of watches as jewelry matters, but isn't all that important. Sure, I'd love to see the old logo back. I'd love to see screw-down links. Then it'd be a little bit better, but that just doesn't matter that much when it's on the wrist telling me the time. And so, put differently, another way to think about this is that this watch is positioned pretty much perfectly on the curve of diminishing returns. I mean, when you buy an inexpensive diver, particularly a mechanical, you end up getting some corners cut. In the Seiko divers, you get a Seiko bracelet. Whoops. And all those kinds of things. And you get all the kinds of other issues like that. But when you go up to this level, you're damn near perfect. And then when you go further, you start paying more, but you don't get as much in return. All that you're getting is maybe a little bit better finishing, maybe a slightly nicer design. You're getting those kinds of things. You're getting things that are intangible. They're not practical, whereas this guy has everything practically right. And so as a result, because this is right at that level where if you pay any more money, you're not getting all that much in return, this is absolutely a gem, because I feel like it excels relative to other budget-focused divers, and it makes other expensive divers feel way too expensive. At some level, holding this guy up to my Omega Planet Ocean or the Tour de Pelagos here, it's just like, why? Why do I pay this much money? I like this watch a lot, but still, why? Why are we paying this much money? And so, as a result, even though this is not cheap at all, $700 is still, or $800 or whatever you end up paying, is a lot to freaking spend on a watch. It does end up feeling kind of like a bargain. And so, Christopher Ward, I gotta say, great work, both saving the planet and in terms of designing this watch. Technically speaking, this is really incredible, and it's very, very easy to recommend. And if you keep hitting the price points this well, and keep keeping all those little details right, especially that new logo, or a new logo that is, you're going to go far. And everybody else, if you're digging the design, you don't mind those kinds of things, and you want a technically amazing tool watch, then you should absolutely give this little guy right here a Trident. Okay. Anyways, hope this has been interesting to you. Please, aliens, don't kill me. Men in Black, don't come for me. And Christopher Ward, keep up the good work. Have a good one, everybody. Bye now.